What's going on, everybody? Nick here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to integrate make.com with the HuggingFace API. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about the API in order to get up and running in just a few minutes. Why HuggingFace? Because the vast majority of the flows that I've built so far have been OpenAI specific, but with HuggingFace you essentially get to unlock several thousand AI models that can do everything from generate your favorite anime waifu to process text at 100 times the speed, to substantially lower inference costs. So you can usually save a fair amount of money if you use one of these models versus, say, OpenAI, Anthropic, or something like that. And you just have way more freedom and sort of accessibility to do the sorts of high-end automation builds that a lot of us here want to do. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, stay tuned. Let's learn how to use one of the most popular AI APIs out there today. Okay, this video was suggested to me over 3 months ago by the lovely @KaramWise1. He asked, Nick, is there any way to integrate HuggingFace and Make? And there absolutely is. That's what I want to talk about in this video. So for people that are unfamiliar with HuggingFace, what exactly is it? Well, HuggingFace is basically like a web repository for artificial intelligence models, specifically really good artificial intelligence models. These guys came out, I think, over 5 years ago now, and really they've been more or less like the open source, behemoths in the space. I don't think you necessarily have to be open source to upload your model onto HuggingFace, but I think the vast majority of the models here are. And basically, instead of you being forced to use just one big LLM or AI image provider like OpenAI or maybe Anthropic, these are models that are generally sourced by the community or sourced by people that are very proficient at handling and managing artificial intelligence models. And then a lot of these models are also just available through API for people like you or I. Additionally, there can be substantial cost savings to using HuggingFace's APIs, their inference API specifically for their AI models. And then you also just get a ton of diversity. Like, you can do so much with the AI models here. It's not just, like a text generation model. So I have a couple open here and I'll just show you what I mean. This is a stable diffusion flash model, which is basically, I think, an improvement on stable diffusion XL. And you can basically just generate really, really high quality images. I think with their own dimensions. I think the vast majority of these example ones are square, but I think you can generate them in portrait mode, landscape mode, to, add images to blog posts or automatically generate images for social media posts, or really just to do a ton of things. So they have a little tester here on the right-hand side after you sign up where you can actually try out the model. And what I'll do here is I'll just say beautiful smiling woman, acrylic painting, stylized. And then I'm going to click compute. And this is essentially going to be the exact same thing that we do when we hook this up to make.com and then call via API endpoint the same model, right, or the same function. So, this took, 5 seconds to generate. It was a beautiful smiling woman indeed, acrylic painting stylized. Obviously play around with the prompts until you figure out the best one for you or for your use case. I imagine any realistic use case for this would involve some user input coming in and then a model specifically to create a bunch of prompts with that user input so that it's as optimal as possible for this. This is just one of the many models here. There's another one here called Mistral. Mistral is a text model. The big difference between Mistral and GPT-4, aside from quality, because Mistral is a lot smaller, is how fast it is. So for instance, right, I just said, hi, hello, how can I assist you today? I want to talk about penguins. Teach me about penguins. I love penguins. Now just watch how fast it is when I click the send button. That took less than 0.5 seconds or something, and it generated, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 words. A GPT-4 is way slower than that. GPT-3 is even way slower than that. This is probably one of the fastest models currently available today. And so you can imagine there are probably some use cases in which you might need to use smaller, faster models like this for work that really isn't as cognitively dense. Maybe you have some categorization requirement or something, or you're just attempting to route flow in your make.com scenario. You don't necessarily need to use the full brunt of one of the most advanced models on planet Earth to do that. You don't need GPT-4, and you definitely don't need to be paying whatever their token costs are now. You could use a much cheaper model that does the job well enough and then use that instead. I have another one open here for all of my anime fans. This one's like an anime generator essentially, and it's super high quality. You know, if we zoom in here, this is Luffy from One Piece. I don't know who that is, but you know, they're just such high quality models out there, and you can actually access these entirely through API. So you can realistically generate, like, I mean, up until quite recently, this type of artwork would have taken people days to put together, and now you can do it in literally the palm of your hand using an inference API. So what I'm going to do over the course of the next few minutes is I'm not going to use this anime one, I'm not going to use the Mr. one, I'm just going to use the Stable Diffusion one because I think this is probably one of the more interesting ones for most of you, and we're just going to automatically generate images for social media posts. I'm going to attach that to a flow that I built previously, and then I'll run you guys through how to connect the HuggingFace API to things. Just generally speaking, give you guys a leg up on, you know, artificial intelligence. Don't feel locked into just one of the big providers like Anthropic or whatnot. So first things first, I'm just going to pop open my scenario builder here, and I'm just going to say generate image for social media post. Excuse me. And what I'm going to do, the very first thing, is I'm going to set up the HuggingFace connection. Now, if you've never set up a HuggingFace connection before, don't worry, they have an extremely simple API with pretty straightforward authentication, and I'm just going to show you how to do it all completely using my own account here, which I set up for free, by the way. It took me less than 3 minutes to set up. So all I have to do first and foremost is type in HuggingFace inference API. That's what you want. And it needs to say serverless. And then go down to overview, and it'll teach you how to do this. So in order to get your API token, you first need to register or log in, which I did a moment ago. Then you need to get your user access or API token in your HuggingFace profile settings. You'll see a token that has this format, HF_XXXXX. And then basically every time you run an API call, you need to include this token in your request. The format that we're going to need, and anytime you see an API, and maybe if you're unfamiliar with like how exactly this API translates over to make, I just look for curl or like request. Curl is just like the, I guess like terminal way to make requests. Like you can actually just spin up an instance in your terminal here. And you know, I could copy this code and fill in this token, and then I could actually like access the API just through my terminal. But the reason why this is beneficial for us is because it gives us the URL that we're going to use, and we can just copy and paste that, plug that directly into you know, our make HTTP request module. It tells us the method, which in our case is going to be post. It tells us the data. So can you please let us know more details about your, and then it lets us know how to do the authorization. And the way you do the authorization here is called the authorization bearer format, which is where you do authorization as the key, and then bearer, and then the API token as the value. So let's set that up right now. We need to go to the HuggingFace profile settings first. And now it says, make sure to never post your tokens publicly. So you should absolutely never, ever post your tokens publicly like I'm about to do. What we want to do is, this is for my YouTube video. I'm going to generate this token. Then I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to go back over here, and then I'll select an HTTP module. And this is how I'm going to make a request. The one that I care about specifically is the make a request module here. There are tons of request modules, but this is the only one that I really care about. And then, you know, for a test, why don't I go back to this overview here, and why don't I just reference GPT-2, just like this is telling me to. This isn't going to be the model that we're going to use, but I just want to get the format down, and really just, like in my head, anytime I'm doing an API integration, I was like, hey, let's just connect to the API, and let's make an authorized request first. Doesn't matter how easy or difficult or what I'm doing specifically with that. I just need to like at least get the 200. And then once I have the 200, it's very easy just to make some tweaks to the API call. So this is the URL. I'm going to put in the URL field. The method, as I mentioned previously, is post. This H stands for headers, and so this is where we need to put our bearer token and stuff. Oh shit, I think okay, yeah, I just screwed up because I lost my my token. So I'm going to invalidate and refresh this, and then I'm going to copy this again. Okay. So I need to put a header in, and the header that I'm going to do is called authorization and then bearer, and then I'm going to paste in my token. And let me just double check that this is correct. So authorization, there's going to be this colon here, but Make actually automatically puts that colon in for you. So you know, if you've done this before and you've screwed up, this is probably why. Then we have a space, then we have bearer, and then we have the API token. So authorization, bearer, and there's my API token. And then you have some data. This data looks just to be a string. So I think the input to this is literally just a string. Can you please let us know more details about your? So I'm just going to go body type, I'll go raw. Content type, I think just text plain. I'm just going to try feeding this in and see what happens. And I'll click yes to parse response. So I don't know if this is going to work immediately. No, it doesn't look like it. So let's see. Authorization header is correct, but the token seems invalid. This is this token. So it's possible that, wait. It's possible that I need to add something else here. Let me scroll back up and see. HF underscore whatever. So let's go back here. Let's edit these permissions and just do read write to everything. That's probably what I messed up here. Yeah, make calls to the serverless inference API, my bad. So you have to set the permissions on this. Realistically, this is probably the only one I need, but I'm just gonna do everything here, make my life a lot easier. And then I'm going to right click and then go run again. This is a 415 now. Expected request with content type application JSON. Okay, so that's good. Somewhere on this API page, it told me that I need to be using content type JSON, application JSON. So we're getting closer. Run it again. This one's a 422. Failed to deserialize the body into the target type, invalid type string. Can you please let us know details about your expected struct? Okay, and then in terms of the data that we need to send over there, earlier I just put like a string, but you actually have a format that all GPT calls need to have, and that is this. You need to have inputs, and then you need to have whatever your prompt is. So this is an example here where I just did curly brace inputs, curly brace, curly brace, quotes, inputs, end quote, colon, quote, the answer to the universe is, end quote, right curly brace. I'm gonna run this puppy. And the fact that it's taking longer to respond now is a good sign. That's basically telling us that it's running. And indeed, we got a 200 status code there, which is positive. If I go to data, you'll see that there is a generated text item that it says, keep in mind, this is GPT-2, so this is quite a while ago, a couple generations. The answer to the universe is clearing out. A recent paper published by Wing Chun International has picked up the Cold War buzzwords for the WTC dust cloud and can promote an even more visionary approach to building a nuclear warhead. So I don't really know what the hell that means, but hey, we're getting somewhere. We've actually called an API now. But this is a GPT-2 model. We don't actually care about the GPT-2 model. What we want is one of these models here. So SDXL Flash, specifically that's what I want. So you can just copy over this and then you can paste it in the end there. And I don't know if I need the SD community, but we're gonna give it a try. It's taken a fair amount of time, which is a good sign. I think the SD community was the right call. Now keep in mind, because this is an image generator, it's not going to be anywhere near as fast as a text generator. If you think about it, how many letters are there? 26. Well, how many possible color values are there? There are 256 times 256 times 256, right? Anyway, you end up getting a buffer with like a binary data. If you guys watch my last video on this, you'll know that all that binary data is it's just like the type of thing that you want, just converted into a different language. So for instance, I wanted an image file. Instead of it giving me an image file, it gave me binary, which is just like a translation of the image file. You can convert binary into an image file extremely easily if you want to. And the way that you do this is, the simplest way that I do it, I should say, is I go onto Google Drive and then I click upload a file. And I need to select the right one here. So I think I have to reconnect. Just give me one moment. Let's do this, and let's do that. I have to do so many connections here just as part of the videos that I record. So sometimes I have too many on the same account, and then it kind of kicks me out. I have to redo it all. So I'm giving this permissions to my Google account. Okay. Once you refresh the connection, it's going to ask you to basically pull data in from this data variable here. And then you can call it whatever file name you want. I just want like image dot. I don't actually know what kind of image it generates. I don't know if it's like a PNG or a JPG or PNG. Yeah, I think it's a PNG. So we're just going to save this like an image.png. I'm just going to save this in the root here, and then we'll do that. And then I'm going to, instead of this, I'm going to say I don't know, handsome man DSLR, close-up, grizzled beard. Let's do that. Then we'll run this once. What the upload a file module does is it'll just take the binary that you have and then convert it into whatever the file type is that you do the dot, PNG, the file ending. And then it'll put it on your Google Drive, which will make it accessible for any other flow that you want, which is quite helpful for us because that's what we're going to be using this for, to take a finished file and then turn that into like a social media post or whatever. The Google Drive upload a file module and then outputs a web view link, so I'm going to copy that and paste that into my browser. And then you can see we indeed have a handsome, grizzled-looking man here with a hell of a beard. That is more beard than I will ever be able to grow in my life. Nice one, man. AI can do that for us in a second, huh? Rip. But anyway, okay, great. So now we have the image uploaded basically in our Google Drive, which is pretty cool. We verified that we can, in fact, use like some endpoint on HuggingFace to quickly generate images that I personally feel are probably higher quality than the images that DALL-E generates right now. But that probably won't remain true forever. What we need to do now is, now I want to show you guys an actual use case where you might be able to employ the HuggingFace API in your own flows to do something that's like, business worthy. As I mentioned, I'm going to stick to the SDXL model here, but you can do the exact same thing that we just did with any of these models. All you have to do is just copy this little endpoint and then just paste it in on top of like the root API, which was this one right here. api-inference.huggingface.co/model/ whatever the heck you just copied. So now that we have the setup here, I'm going to rename this module to send API request to HuggingFace. That might be a little bit long. And then this is going to be convert image to PNG. Let's just say send request to HuggingFace. Actually, let's just do, there you go. That should be pretty simple for anybody that's downloading this blueprint later. Now I'm just going to go to a Google Sheet. I'm going to just search rows as I usually do, just to show you guys, how you can iterate through multiple examples at the same time. I'm going to connect this puppy, and then we need to make a Google Sheet. So I'm going to go to the account that I know is connected here. And then I'm going to do a blank spreadsheet. And then I'll just say social media posts. I'll say date. I'll say message. I could do platform, but I'm going to leave platform out of it for now. And now I need to actually go generate some social media posts. So I'm just going to go to OpenAI. I'll say generate 3 short social media teasers for Green Day. I'm going to pretend that this is for Green Day. I'll say we're posting these on Facebook along with a specific image that represents the environment or something. Let's make them longer. There you go, that looks good. So we got our 3 posts here. I'm just going to, what was I gonna say? Dump this in, wonderful. And then I'm going to remove this. Hypothetically, we're just pretending that, this is my social media calendar. The date for this one would be, let's say the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. I don't know. I don't think Green Day is actually, is it called Green Day? Oh shit, it's called Earth Day. That's brutal. Man, really showing my age there. Okay, that looks pretty good. World Green Day. I gotta fix this, man. This is gonna keep me up at night. Cannot believe I thought that Earth Day was called Green Day. Yeah, the environment's getting pretty angsty. Anyway, so we're gonna pretend this is a bunch of posts for Earth Day that we're posting today, tomorrow, and the next day. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these and then I'm going to feed these through an AI model, which will generate like an image request. And then I'm gonna use that image request with all the bells and whistles to turn that into an image. And then I'm gonna go on Facebook and then I'm going to post it. Now I'm not actually gonna do the whole posting part. I'm just gonna show you how to set it all up because I don't wanna post these to my Facebook page. It's not that I'm sure people don't care about Green Day. All of my followers are obviously environmentalists and very altruistic and stuff, but I'm just not going to do the actual posting, but I'll show you how to do everything else. Okay, great. So first things first, we're going to search these rows. I'm just going to connect this to my social media calendar. That's what it's called. I'm going to select sheet 1, which is the name of the sheet that has the post that I want. Then for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to select maximum number of sheets, 1. I'm then going to select this little bubble and then just see my post. Let's celebrate Earth Day by taking small steps that lead to big impacts, whether it's recycling, reducing waste, planting trees, every action counts. Go green, hashtag World Earth Day. Awesome. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually create, and this is a very common design pattern, by the way. I'm going to create an image, I'm going to create a prompt that I'm going to feed into the image model. The reason why you have to do this is because if you think about it, if I were just to feed in that prompt back there, let's celebrate Earth Day by doing whatever, the image that's generated would not be very descriptive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to train a model basically to output a prompt that I can then feed into another model, and that will generate a much higher quality image than if I just feed in the prompt directly. So I'm going to say you are a prompt generator for an image AI. You take in a social media post. You take in social media post copy and convert it into a detailed, high quality description of an image. You have creative license to choose an image prompt. Let's do prompt for an image. You have creative license to choose an image prompt that represents the social media post. Now I'm going to train it once. I'm going to go again user. So we're doing a system prompt, then a user prompt, and then another user prompt where I give it an example. Let's go back to my assistant and just get it to generate one more. So we're going to go over here and then I'll just say one more. And it's Earth Day. Okay, great. And then I'm going to go back over here, feed this in. And then generally speaking, for something like this, you're going to want to generate beautiful picture of the Rocky Mountains, high quality DSLR, let's say detailed, let's say bokeh. We'll do landscape photography. I don't know, you're just going to want to generate we're going to pick a thing to generate, and then we're going to do a bunch of descriptor terms which improve the quality of the generation. We'll go artistic, we'll go colorful, and then that should be good sharp. We'll do sharp as well. And then for the user input, I'm just going to now feed in the message. And then I'm going to send the image request to HuggingFace. And the way that I'm going to do that is the prompt that I'm feeding in is now going to be the result from the previous GPT-4 module. Then we're going to take that image, convert it into PNG, and then why don't we plug this in to a social media flow. Actually, let's generate the image first, and then we'll worry about plugging in the social media flow after. So let's see the prompt that it generated. An inspiring image of a group of diverse people planting trees in a lush green park with bright, hopeful sunlight filtering through the leaves. The scene should evoke a sense of community. Environmental stewardship and positive action include visual elements like recycling bins, people holding reusable bags, and children participating to highlight the collective effort of sustainability. So that's okay. It's not the perfect prompt, but the thing that I'm worried about here is the fact that it outputted a quote. So it looks like that's fine. The quote worked all right. Sometimes if you do two quotes, it sort of cancels it out. And then I do not have, I double-clicked web content link. What you want is web view link. Let's give that a click. Awesome, this looks pretty good. Realistically, if you're doing this, you should probably stay away from people because people, sort of do the uncanny valley effect. So I really like what's going on here, but just because I'm going to be sharing this blueprint, I'm going to edit the prompt a little bit. And I'll say, don't create any prompts with people in them. People elicit an uncanny valley effect. Okay, that looks good. I could add a few more examples here if I wanted it to be like perfectly similar to the prompt that I had before, but I'm not extremely worried. What I will do is I'll change the temp a little bit so that it doesn't just go off kilter completely. And then we'll try that again. Again, the reason why I'm showing you all this and not just skipping to the finished product is because this is the exact workflow that I would do if I were building a social media automation like this. I would test, look at the results, iterate, test, look at the results, iterate. I do this probably 5 to 10 times until I'm satisfied with what I get. Because of how I've tested this flow from sort of like the end part back to the beginning part, I'm confident that everything here works, and then it's just a matter of steering correctly at the very front of the flow. This is my methodology most times when I'm building systems like this. I find it's just way more effective than, I don't know, trying to wireframe the system in Whimsical or something. Oh, I did the same mistake there. You don't want web content link, you want web view link. Okay, this looks great to me. This is more or less exactly what I was thinking about. This is quite stylized, which is nice. It's like a painting style thing. You could totally see this on a Facebook post about Green Day. World Earth Day. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to post this on Facebook. I spent like 3 minutes thinking about this, but I'm actually going to post this on my real Facebook profile just because I want to show you guys how the flow works and what it looks like in practice. So in order to do this, go over to Facebook Pages. That's the module that you want. Give it a little click. And then what we want is create a post with photos. You're going to have to do your Facebook connection, of course. The page that I'm going to do is 1 second copy. That's my writing business. And then what we want is we don't actually want to upload this photo. We want to download, we don't want to download the photo from URL. We want to upload the image. And it's the exact same thing that we did previously where we fed in the binary data from this buffer here. And then the file name, I'm just going to call this like image.png. You can have AI generate a caption for you as well. If you think about it logically, what we could have done is we could have went back to that AI module and then we could have had it output in JSON instead. So maybe it would have been like, I don't know, like prompt. And then we would have had another one called caption where it generates the caption. But for the purposes of this, I'm not going to complicate it. Just keep in mind that you can always do that when you're querying for a piece of information and you're just doing it in plain text. Just know that you can always wrap little JSON notation around it and then have it generate like 3 or 4 properties that are related to it. Basically no extra token cost, maybe like an extra 1/10 of a cent every 50 requests or something. And then the last parameter here that's useful for us is this date parameter. So Facebook actually allows you to automatically schedule your posts. And if you remember way back when I was setting up this Google Sheet, I set up a date field. So I could feed the date field in here and then it would schedule my posts for the future when that date arrives. I'm not actually going to do this because I want to show you guys what this looks like right now. But just keep in mind, if you want to feed in that date parameter, you may have to do some formatting. I'm not entirely sure if it accepts the day, date, /month, month, /year. Might accept a timestamp or something instead, but whatever. Okay, great. So now we are searching our Google Sheets row. We're now sending the image request to HuggingFace. We're converting the image to a PNG, simply so that we have a backup of it in case we need it. And this better be a damn good image, because this one's taking its sweet ass time. This may be because of volume on the endpoint. And then we're creating our Facebook post, and that looks successful. I'm just going to go back to my Facebook page. This is my Facebook page here for 1 second copy. We have an astounding 152 likes. And then if we scroll down here, we'll see the post that was generated. Alrighty, thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed learning how to use HuggingFace in your own flows. Keep in mind that we could have used basically any endpoint that we wanted here. We could have used that Mistral really fast text responder. We could have generated some anime waifus, whatever the hell you guys want to do. You can with HuggingFace. And I didn't really break down the costs in this video, but feel free to head over to their pricing just to get an indication of what like API inference calls are. They're usually substantially cheaper than GPT-4 or some of the other big models out there that can cost us a fair amount of money when we run them at volume. If you guys have any questions about this video, just leave a comment down below. I'm more than happy to get to it at some point. Otherwise, do all that fun YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.